Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is that side character chapter 32, and this one is titled Sleepy Confession. I was coming to wish you a good night, but I can't wish you anything if you're not in bed, he replied, still being held down by you. Oh, he said, quickly removing a hand from the side of his face. Sorry, I thought, what? He asked, sitting up as you backed off. Well, I don't know, but I'm scared, but I want it, you know? You replied vaguely. I don't know. He replied honestly. What do you mean? You hung your head. Well, do you like anyone? You then asked him. His heart suddenly flipped as you asked the question, and he blushed and looked down so that his fringe covered his face completely. The two of you stood there staring down at the floor silently. After taking a moment, you took a deep breath in to say your next line. Well, when you like someone, you, Just then, Kenma's PSP beeped to ask if he was still there, and his attention flicked from you to it. I'm sorry I scared you, he then said softly, shuffling back towards the door while you stepped aside to let him past. You hummed, letting him go past you back to the lounge and his PSP. You stood there a while longer, feeling the embarrassment run from your toes up to your nose and then out from limb to limb, like a crucifix to almost humiliation. Was I about to confess to Kenma? What was I going to say? Was I going to tell him that I wanted to get closer with him? Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Why would I even think about doing that? Your heart was still thumping away in your chest, and you placed a hand over it to stop it from punching a hole right through your shirt. Oh, thank God his pissy pee made a sound, otherwise it would have gotten really awkward. Back in the lounge room, Kenma was on his PSP, but he kept getting distracted by the conversation that he had just had with you in the bedroom. Why did she ask if I like anyone? He thought. Does she like someone? His heart twisted in his chest at the thought of you liking someone else and spending time with them over him. I wanted to spend time with me, and only me, he thought, stopping his mashing of the triangle button under his right thumb as the character in the game died and the game paused to reload at the last save point. Does that mean I like her? The game restarted, so he paused on that thought and went back to playing with his full attention on it. By that time, you had calmed down a little and had finally convinced yourself that Kenma wasn't going to try and do anything to you, which you low-key hoped that he might, but at the same time hoped that he didn't, and you walked slowly back out to him in the lounge. He glanced up at you as you approached him, and you kind of stood there awkwardly for a second before clearing your throat. Can I sleep out here or something? I've decided that I'm a bit scared in the bedroom by myself. He nodded and shuffled over on the lounge so you could sit down. You did, awkwardly, and just stared straight ahead while he played his game for a few minutes. You going to go to sleep? You asked him, finally, after it had been long enough of a time that you just stared ahead. No, he shook his head. I'm staying up all night. Oh, okay, you replied. I'll still stay here anyway. Then you shuffled around until you found a comfortable position to sleep in, and grabbed a few extra pillow cushions to get comfy. Then you settled down to sleep. In that time, Kenma got up and got an energy drink and cracked it open to take a sip. As the cool liquid hit his tongue, he felt it fizz and his body jumped with the new energy hit. Wow, this stuff really maxes out your HP real quick, he thought, looking at the bottle before placing it down on the coffee table in front of him. You saw him take a sip, but then you shut your eyes again and tried to sleep with the lights on and the sound of his PSP making all kinds of noises. It took you all of about 0.5 seconds to get agitated by the external stimulation, then you suddenly sat bolt upright, shocking Kenma, who was still a little buzzed by the one sip of energy drink, and announced that you were going to go to bed. I thought you didn't like the dark or something, he asked as you walked off into the room. I'll be fine, you replied flippantly without looking back. He had just looked back down to his game when you reappeared again, and he looked up at you as you approached him. What happened? He asked. I can't sleep in there by myself, but it's too bright out here and it's noisy, but I don't want to be in the dark alone and... Okay, fine. He stood up. I'll sit on the bed in there while you sleep. Can you make your pissy pee quiet? You asked, pointing to his PSP. He deadpanned through his fringe. It's a PSP, he said slowly. It's the same thing. Pissy pee's cute anyway, you replied through a yawn. I'm not coming until you say it properly, Kenma said in a bland voice. Fine, PSP, you said. Now can you please come and sit in the room? He followed you into the room and sat down on the end of the bed, while you hopped up onto it, and pulled the covers over yourself, then scrunched down under them and lazily watched him play his game. He looked like a gaming angel, the way his form was being lit from behind, as the light of the lounge filtered through. Hey, he said softly. I really like you. He looked up and turned his head around to look at you, but your eyes had started to close by then, and your breathing had slowed right down. His face heated up as he sat there watching you sleep. I really like you too, Yen, he whispered back, his heart fluttering as he said the words out loud. He watched you sleep for a little bit before getting off the bed quietly to get his energy drink, and then crept back into the room to stand guard, which was sit on bed, while you slept, pretending that he was keeping watch over your avatar in case any other characters came along and found you asleep. Oh, so cute. Next chapter, 33, coming tomorrow. See you then.